Timmy B, obviously week 2 had a lot of action. Alabama squeaks one out against Texas. What are your thoughts on Alabama right now before we get to these week 3 games? Because I think people that are writing them off maybe made the same mistake a couple times last year, and then you look up and they win the SEC championship game and they're in the Natty.
Well, look, they're not there yet. I mean, they will be, I think. I mean, Nick's teams always are. But as per the norm, it's never about the opponent with Alabama. It's always Alabama sucked. We just played horribly. Now, Nick, to his credit, because maybe it's Sark, in the post game did give Sark some credit, and he should have. I mean, offensively, they outcoached Alabama defensively. Their schemes, they really knew what they were doing. And then I think the addition of Gary Patterson as a defensive analyst, had to help from a defensive standpoint take away some of what Alabama wanted to get done in their run game, which I thought enabled their defensive ends to make a difference in the pass rush. Their offensive line, Alabama's offensive line, got pushed around. And listen, call me a nut, but I don't know how many different highlights of that incredible scramble on a key down to keep the drive alive before the field goal. And not one anchor that I saw over those highlights said, oh, by the way, 65 is holding.
Yeah.
I mean, the right tackle is mugging, the defensive. It's going right. I mean, he runs right by where the hold was. And there's no team in America that gets a non-call there other than Alabama. I mean, that's the truth. That's the absolute truth. And if you don't believe that, I'll go back and show you countless other examples of it. Pure playoff privilege matters with teams, and Alabama gets more of it because you hear, and even the narrative on them, it's the equity they built up. And they have built up a great deal of equity, and they deserve that, okay? But when I see a hold as open as that one that's not called, that's a problem, okay? And it happens over and over again with them. My man Terry Bowden, ULM, is going in there. All right?
I see that.
And old Auburn's Buster Brown is going to do his best to prove that maybe Alabama's issues are legitimate, that maybe they can hang in there for a little while in this game coming up tomorrow. So, listen, it's college football, fellas, and the bottom line is there is parity. Let's give the credit to some of these other teams. Sun Belt goes in to 3 Power 5 locations, storied locations, okay, with packed houses, and they all win. There's a reason for that, okay? And it's not, we shouldn't be shocked. It happened last year. But as long as we're exclusionary and we only let 4 damn teams in, we're not going to see the same kind of parity. Think about it, fellas. If last Saturday, was in a year when we had 12 teams in the playoff, okay, then those upsets would have had a great deal more meaning than they have now. As it is, it's just, hey, nice job, Fun Belt. Happy for you. See ya. We're going to go play over here now. You're not invited.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen when we get 12. It's going to make it so much more enjoyable.
For sure. And we have Clay Helton we're releasing on our Saturday special. We actually asked him about that because we asked Brian Vincent from UAB, should there be a separate championship for the group of 5? He wanted a separate championship. Clay Helton's answer is a little bit different, but it's not just Timmy B. It wasn't just those 3 teams. Wasn't just Georgia Southern. Wasn't just App State. Wasn't just Marshall. My South Alabama Jaguars, alma mater, went up to Central Michigan, a team that dropped a 44-piece with some honey biscuits and french fries against Oklahoma State, who's pretty good on defense. James Madison comes to the FBS. They're 2-0. They absolutely wiped the floor with Middle Tennessee that then goes on the road and beats Colorado State. Southern Miss gives Miami a little bit of a fight early. If you look at the teams the Sun Belt has added with teams that are leaving the American, you want to talk about a group of 5 conference that's starting to move up the apartment that may be down from that first floor working its way up to the penthouse. Watch out for the Sun Belt, fellas. And we got game day coming to Boone this weekend.
But even moving
we'll Fun Belt this whole thing.
I mean, but even moving to 12.
The bottom line is we're not going to have 2 supers, okay? The Big 12 is going to get a really nice television deal. Trust me, okay? It's in the works. It's going to happen. Pac-12, whatever's left of it, depending upon what the Big 10 decides to do with regard to those Bay Area schools and possibly Oregon and Washington, we'll see. I think the Pac-12 will probably get a good TV deal too. what you saw last night with the whole streaming thing in the NFL. It's going to come to the college game to some extent. And while maybe not as many people are going to see some of those games, at least for now, they're going to get a lot of money from guys like Bezos. Okay, they're going to get a lot of money. So they're going to be fine. And what I'm telling you is we need to rid ourselves of this culture war, okay, of you're in the group of 5, you don't need to play with us crap versus Power 5, all right? We're going to have a legitimate Division I college football. And if you can compete at the Division I level, I don't care what damn league you're in. If you go out there and win all of your games, you warrant consideration to get into the 12. And again, I'll tell you what I think I told you the last time. By announcing 12 now, I think it makes it a lot easier once we get to that date on the calendar to go to 16. That way, you'll have 1, 2, 3, and 4 teams, those teams in the top 4, playing home games in the first round of the college football playoff. That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to stop at 12. But a game this weekend, before we whip it around here, Timmy B, Miami going to A&M. A&M's got to get off the mat after losing to App State. Miami without their top receiver, Xavier Restrepo. We know how talented Tyler Van Dyke is. It seems like the run game they're starting to figure out there in Miami. Biggest game Jimbo Fisher's ever coached outside of the national championship game going on this weekend, Timmy B? What do you think?
It's way up there. I mean, it's way up there. And listen, the problem he has is Miami's got a quarterback, and right now he doesn't. It's time. I mean, you got LSU's former starter.
He's starting this weekend, Timmy B. They just announced it. He's starting. We're going to see.
All right. Well, he should start.
Yes, I agree.
He should have been starting from the jump. I mean, this is a kid that's gone on the road and won, in the swamp at a time when nobody gave LSU a chance to beat Florida, and Florida had a chance to play for an opportunity to get into the playoff. Had they won that game and gone in and beaten Alabama in the SEC title game, and they were pretty competitive in that game with Alabama, you might recall. So, yeah, this is a very important game. I like Miami. Largely because of, the difference at quarterback. And because, Max is a really good, serviceable quarterback. He understands the game. He knows the checkdowns. He'll remain composed. But I don't think he's got the talent that the Miami quarterback does. And for that reason, I'm going to go with Mario getting the job done. And now what do you do, A&M? Now what do? You
go play Arkansas on a neutral side.
I mean, my God. Yeah, good luck with that. How's that rivalry gone for you? Okay. You've been talking about beating Alabama. Hell, you haven't even conquered Arkansas on a regular basis. And guess what? Arkansas right now, along with Kentucky, man, oh man, those are 2 of the hottest teams in the country right now. They know who they are. Okay. Teams that have an understanding of who and what they are going to be very, very effective early in seasons. And that's what we're seeing around the country right now. That's what happened to Missouri when they played Kansas State. Okay, K-State knows who they are. Kleiman's done a hell of a job. Okay, so there's examples of programs like Kentucky and Arkansas outside the SEC, and those teams are teams you don't want to play early in the season because they're frankly ahead of you because they know who they are.
Hey, if you like that content, go ahead and subscribe. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, String in a Cup. As long as you're listening, we appreciate you. Go subscribe now. It's Cranic Company.